Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the EA Global Summit, the virtual conference connecting global EA practitioners. So this is Nizam from the organizing team, and here with us for this session, we have Ian, the Sparx partner and eaDocX founder, whom we all know, who's going to be presenting on working with interactive documents. So just before passing to Ian, a quick note on any questions or discussions that you'd like to have with Ian, please use our channel in the MS Teams to raise your questions, the link to which will be shared in your chat window, as you all know. If you have any difficulty joining the Teams channel, please do let us know and we'll try to resolve it at the earliest. So with that said, we welcome Ian once again for another wonderful presentation. Thanks, Ian, and over to you now.
Thank you, Nizam, for that lovely introduction. So he says, my name is Ian Mitchell, and this is going to be all about interactive documents, particularly using eaDocs. Now, I know that I've got lots of eaDocs customers listening in, so hello to all of you. And those of you who've used eaDocs for a long time, the first few bits will be kind of stuff you go, oh yeah, I know about all that stuff. But remember, there are going to be a few people who've not seen it before. The stuff at the end, which is about interactive documents, is going to be brand new to everybody because this is the first time anybody's seen it outside of eaDocs. So let's just first of all admit to biases. Well, there's a whole page full. I ran out of time to write any more of them down. I'm a business analyst by background, so I tend to think more at the business end of what EA does rather than at the technical database design, SysML kind of level. So that's kind of where I'm coming from in all this. So if I don't talk about SysML things too much, that's why. So what's the problem we're trying to solve? Well, we've been doing eaDocs now for nearly 10 years, and we're solving the same problem now that we were then, which is that EA is just a fantastic place to put your business knowledge. We're all kind of EA fanatics, aren't we? Let's face it. And we think that everybody should put all of the knowledge they have, whether it's requirements or designs or architecture, whatever else, everything should go into EA, which means that we should be able to create fantastic documents out of it. And the challenge I think we always have as IT people is, how do we get people to actually, first of all, read the document? Secondly, to actually understand what we're saying, and if possible, to interact with it. So to comment on it and give us some kind of feedback, because I don't know about you, but I've over the years had many, many documents which are full of interesting and controversial stuff, which you send out into the world, and it comes back maybe with one comment, and a couple of people say, that looks fine. And my heart sinks. That says, you've probably not read that document. So somewhere down the line, that's going to come back and bite me, because you haven't read the document, and I really needed you to understand this stuff. And maybe 3 months, 6 months time, you're going to come back and go, well, nobody ever told me about this. So that, I think, is our challenge as not as modelers now, but as document creators. So we're going to look at a few techniques to start with of how to make the documents less dull. So the worst thing I think you can ever send somebody is a document that looks like it's been produced by a computer. And that's what we're going to need to try and get away from. And I'm going to make a few assumptions as I'm going along here. So the first one I think is almost certainly true for pretty any organization I can think of. Most of the people who you need to read your documents aren't EA users. So the idea of give everybody EA just isn't possible. That's just crazy stuff. More people, but not everybody. And maybe some of those people either won't or can't even use Collaborate. Because if you're going to be starting to do minute-by-minute interaction with people helping you to develop your models, then Collaborate is a fantastic way to go. But there are large parts of the world where the document is the thing that you use to communicate with people, and that's just the culture. And there's lots of governments, anything safety critical, aerospace things, defense things, and lots of organizations just say, no, you need to send me a specification document and I will review it, and that's how it works. The people that we're talking to are probably using, obviously using Word to do that, but increasingly Microsoft Teams. I don't know where Teams, when it was invented, but in the last 6 months, every client I've talked to has been using Teams. So the guys in our web design company that we're borrowing their offices from them today use Microsoft Teams. Nizam's using it for doing all of our feedback. We're starting to use it ourselves. A lot of our clients are using it. So everybody out there is using Teams. And if we want to reach out to our customers where they are, not where we'd like them to be, maybe we'd like them to be using EA or using Collaborate, we need to reach out to them where they really are. And where they really are is they're in Microsoft Teams looking at Word documents. So that's where we need to get to. So that's kind of the scope of what we're talking about today. So what are the tricks to make people read, understand, and interact with the documents that we create? Because the worst thing in the world is a document with no comments on it. Obviously, what I'm going to be using is eaDocX. That's what pays the mortgage and feeds us all. But the techniques I'm going to be talking about in the first half aren't really unique to eaDocX. I don't think they are anyway. I'm not sure. I don't really follow what other people do. So you might be using the EA's built-in RTF generator. You may have developed your own. I mean, I've met 2 or 3 organizations over the years who've got their own. Or you may be, heaven forbid, copying and pasting diagrams from EA into Word. Now, if you are doing that, please talk to me afterwards, because we can make your life so much better. So I don't think they're massively tool dependent, but you are the better judge than me. A little plug about eaDocX. We've been going for nearly 10 years since the first eaDocX document was generated. We're nearly up to 4,000 customers in the EA world, so that's why so many of you guys out there are already my customers. So thanks very much to all of you. We're currently at version 4, which has been out now. I think 4.1 has been out for quite a while. And I'm currently working on version 5, which has got this thing called Revision Manager, which we're going to look at in a minute. And kind of makes me realize how far we've come in those 10 years. It's the logo kind of evolution that at the time, each of them looked really quite fabulous, including our latest one. Anyway, time moves on. So we're going to have a look at some documents that we've created with eaDocX. I'm just going to switch over into EA, and hopefully everybody can see that. And I'm going to just talk you through a few of the things in this document which I think will make people want to read it and interact with it. And this is based on, say, 10 years of generating documents and literally probably thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of documents. So we'll have a look at one. All these documents, by the way, are stored inside of EA. That's just one of the things eaDocX will do. So the first thing that you notice is it's Microsoft Word. When you're doing a generation, you get Word inside of EA. I mean, that was kind of use case number 1 for eaDocX. Use case number 2 for it was the way you use, to me, any document generator should be, you do your modeling, you get that right, and you do all your reviews and your inspections on your model when you can. When you create the document, you create it and send it. What you don't do is do your modeling, create the document, spend half an hour making it look right, and then send it. Because in that half an hour has a terrible effect on how you work. It means, okay, you're going to be changing bits of formatting and stuff. So actually, when you regenerate it next week, you're going to have to do that half an hour again. And also there's a terrible temptation to say, oh, there's a little typo somewhere. I'll just change it in the document. And now, of course, your document is ahead of your model. So it's do your modeling, generate, send. No making it beautiful in between. And I think that use case 3 was the document should look better than the one you can make yourself by hand. That's a pretty tall order, but I think we can probably do that. So the first impression is it's a Word document. It's got all the normal things in it. It's got headers and footers and funny colors and lots of metadata. All this is generated, by the way. All the dates and things and versions and status and abstracts, all generated stuff. It's got a table of contents because people expect to see this kind of stuff in a document. So you've got to be able to do that. And I think most mechanisms that generate into Word can do that. It's got a version history. There's a lot of stuff in here. This is eaDocX corporate edition, which has all the versioning in there. So I've got all the details of all the different versions of my documents and my list of diagrams and all that kind of stuff. And I've got headings and headers and diagrams and all that kind of good stuff. So let's go and look a bit further down to some other the tricks that we found over the years seem to work. This is one of them, which is these funny stripy tables. Now, okay, they're not to everybody's taste. They may not work well in your culture, so fair enough. But try and make them interesting. One technique I've been using for many years now is certain tables of a certain type are all the same color. So if the document contains multiple lists of stakeholders, they're all blue. And all the issues are in pink, and all of the requirements are in green. So the user's kind of going, oh, okay, I know what I'm looking at now, and they're going to be getting more into the document. Principal trick that we did very, very early on was the hyperlink idea. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to put hyperlinks into a Word document. You can absolutely do it. It absolutely works fine if you're doing it by hand. But really, are you going to do that on every document you produce? So be nice to your users. Your users expect to see blue text underlined that they can click on, and you can. Then you can click on those and you can go and find other parts of the document. That's what users expect to see. They expect to be interacting with the document. And while they're doing that, they're reading the document in their own way, not in the way that you necessarily thought, start at the beginning and go to the end, but go to here and then down here again and then up to the top and back down again. That's them reading it in their own way. And that's, by the way, these are all generated from connectors in your EA model. So we talk about, we model elements with connectors. What they see is some text of a team member and a hyperlink to that person over there. So let's just go to Martin, and there you zip up to Martin. So that's all perfectly fine. So all of those good things that we do in our models, creating elements and connectors, and with useful, interesting connectors, the connectors show through as hyperlinks if you want them to do that. More is not better. A few go quite a long way. And what else can we find in here? More tables. Oh, there you go. So requirements. I've made requirements come out in green because it just makes them stick out. It's just some of the default Microsoft Word table styles, and some more hyperlinks back to other things. More requirements, so they're in green as well. I'm just trying to get to some of the stuff. Oh, there we go. I've put risks. I've gone in red. And this is another thing that we found over the years with users of eaDocX, and I'll be interested at the end if people want to come into the forum and comment on this, that the style of people's documents changes once you can put in hyperlinks, because it means you don't need to have a 100-page document where I have to read the whole thing. You can say, actually, there's only 10 or 20 pages at the beginning that you don't need to read. There's a really big appendix underneath it. And that can have all the cross-reference material and the extra reading, because you can hyperlink from the top of the document to the bottom. If the document's only 20 pages long and you say, look, I need you to review these 20, it's much more likely, I think, that somebody will use it than if it's the whole 100 pages they have to read. So that's a good tip. Another one is the idea of making different documents for different stakeholders. And this is kind of goes against the kind of whole IT world of, if I'm going to produce, let's say, a requirements document, I'm going to produce one. It's going to be a big document and everybody's going to get it. Whereas most of the receivers of that document are going to go, oh no, I don't want to see everything. But if your modeling is good, and we'll go back and look over here. So I've got a little diagram. EA means that you don't have to do that stuff. So if my modeling looks like this, obviously just a thrown together model, where I have my stakeholder and it's linked to requirements, which is linked to something else, which is linked to something else, then I can produce a document for that stakeholder. And I actually did this very early on in the life of eaDocX. We had a particular stakeholder who would not read documents. They were too important, and actually, to be fair, the documents were pretty dull. They were 300 pages long, 98% of which this stakeholder wasn't interested in. So we'd modeled it nicely in EA, much like this, with requirements and use cases and features. And when I produced this for this guy, a document for him, it was 15 pages long, and I said at the beginning, every single part of this document is something you need to read. And he read it. And it's the first time he'd ever read a specification document from our team. Okay, he drew all over it and said, this is wrong, I don't like that, this needs changing. Fantastic, he's interacting with my document now. And we made loads of changes, and okay, didn't make him happy in the end because he was just a miserable person, but at least he started to interact with the team, where she's never done before. So using these kind of good modeling, so modeling that you're probably doing already, and intelligent design of document says everybody could get a different document. So the senior managers get one, the testers get a different one, some other stakeholders get a different one. And if you're doing a generate or model generate send, then you can have multiple documents or multiple audiences. And that is a real key, because the worst thing in the world is a 200-page document arriving on your desk, and you absolutely know that 180 pages of it you don't care about. But how are you going to find the bits that you do care about? So that would be my encouragement to you. No matter what document generator you use, think about the reader. How much do they need to see? How much detail do they need to see? What might they like to see that you could put in an appendix that they might want to come and look at later on? So it doesn't matter what mechanism you use, all of these kind of things apply. Where's my document gone? Here we go. So what else can we put in there? Here's something that we did quite early on with eaDocX, which I know a lot of you use already, because I know I get lots of feedback about it, which is the relationship matrix and conditional formatting used in that as well. So various people this week have talked about the RACI matrix, which I'm going to get it right again. Responsible, accountable, consulted and informed. Yes, I've really got this nailed. I could be a project manager, you know. Okay, Jackie's shaking her head. I can't be a project manager. Quite a lot of information. The diagram that sits behind this is absolutely awful, but you could use relationship matrix in EA to develop some of this information. You could use the relationship matrix I showed in Model Expert earlier in the week to do this. But if I'm giving this to a stakeholder, something like this is nice and friendly. You know, it's got colors in it. It's got RACI rather than the original relationships, which had the full name in there. I've got hyperlinks in here. I've got extra rows to say, you know, if you really need to know what the alias of these things are, I can see a bit more detail. It's just friendly. You know, it's a thing that says somebody's taken a bit of care. I'll try and read it. And the last bit, because there isn't time to go through all the features of eaDocX, we'll be here all night. We have one client actually who bought eaDocX 7 years ago just for this feature, and it's the only bit of eaDocX they use. I won't say where it is, because if I ever get arrested in that part of the world, I'm going to be calling this guy. They use it for the glossary. Well, the glossary is very, very simple. It says, when you finish generating your document, or whether you've typed bits of it or whether it's generated, doesn't matter. I'll go into the EA glossary and look at all the words that you've used in the document and see if they're in the glossary. And if they're in the glossary, if they're in the document, I'll make a glossary. Because you, like me, I'm sure have seen lots and lots of documents where the glossary is like a kind of historical artifact. It gets handed down from document writer to document writer, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger over the years till it's 30 pages long at the end of the document. This says, no, these are the terms that are used in this document. If you add extra terms, extra words into your document, the glossary will change. It might get a little bit bigger. If you take some away, it might get a little bit smaller. But you're thinking about the reader. So there's just not an intimidating 20 pages at the end of the document. Oh, talking about how the document's put together, by the way, again, sorry, eaDocX customers, just tune out for a moment. This is the view that you get, a kind of WYSIWYG, what you're about to get view that says how the document's organized. So I have these different sections in here, and we can say for this particular document, yeah, there's a project background package in EA has an introduction diagram, but I don't want to see it in this particular document. And you probably see there's some various other diagrams that I just don't want to see. They're my kind of working out type diagrams. So here, that team diagram, I don't want to see it. I just want to see a table full of actors. So lots and lots of control. Another day we can go through all the different ways you can slice and dice your EA information to put it in the document, because that's what you're going to need. You're going to need lots of different ways to produce the information, because your readers may want to see the information in a certain way. My encouragement to you would be, if your reader says, I must have a document like this, and gives you a format that they use today, get as close as you can to that format, Because believe me, I've tried the other way, which is, oh, no, you don't want that. I can give you this document that I can generate and it'll be fantastic. And then they go, oh, okay, so basically you can't give me what I want. Well, yeah, I'm trying to change your mind. Spend the time to get as close as humanly possible to what they want. And eaDoc's standard features will usually get you 95, 98% of the way there, even on a very complex document. The last 3 to 5%, you may have to write some bits of script to do clever little bits of generation, but probably not. And then try and gradually say, look, do you really need that bit? Because it's taking me a lot of time to write that script. But don't try and change their minds about what they want. How are we doing for time? Not so bad. So let's see where we are in the thought process then. I'll go back to my slides here. Yeah, they're everything documents. So I've got as far as my glossary. I've got a document that's the right size for my user. It's got only the content they need. The reader's kind of, okay, you know. What's my next stage? I'll try and write some comments on it. Now, this is where the adventure kind of begins, because normally you generate a document and it would go into produce a Word document and people will start to review it. And that's great. You know, if your document is interesting, you've used color, you've used an appropriate level of detail for them as a stakeholder, you're not boring them with detail they don't need, then they'll get it in Word and they'll go, oh, that's great, I know how to use Word, because everybody knows how to use it. Even my mother knows how to use Word, for heaven's sake. So they'll then start writing their comments on it. And that's great, because I mean, they're interacting with your document. And your problem then, of course, comes with, well, now I've got 10 versions of this document with 10 lots of comments on it. So what do I do now? Do I print them all out? Do I get an enormous number of screens attached to my laptop and try and look at them all together? It's absolutely painful. And this is where we're coming into what we're now calling interactive documents. So we're going to try and take all the output of that, run it through this new bit of magic called Revision Manager that we wrote just as the lockdown was starting, and get all that information back into EA. So let's just see that in action. Where's EA gone? Oh, here it goes. So I've produced one of these already. So here's my document down here. So let's open the document and see what we can see. Well, actually, it doesn't look very different from all the other documents that I've been producing. It's got versions and diagrams and tables of contents and stuff in EA, and you know, it's all pretty dull, really. So what's changed? Well, the good news is for you, the document author, nothing's changed. You create the document in the same way, use all the same techniques of tables and colors and layout. Everything in eaDocX is exactly the same. It's just that when you press the button, you say generate it with tagged information as opposed to normal. This is a beta version, by the way, so we're probably going to change the user interface and make it look a bit more sexy. From the reader's point of view, you know, it's a Word document. That's fine. I can hit switch on track changes and off I go. What I've done in this one, and this was a suggestion from an eaDocX customer, was you can actually use this rather than saying, here's a document, review it. You can point them to bits that says, actually, I really need your help with this bit. And everybody likes being asked for help. It's just a sort of a human nature thing. So in this particular case, I've taken that advice and said, well, anything that looks pink says to the reader, I'm really looking for your input here. So here's the rest of my document, yada, 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 yada. Oh, missed it. Very obvious now where they need input. Ah, yeah. So it's a definition of what these actors are. It's empty. And you know, a few of them been filled in, but not very good. So let's see now what we get from the comments that people have put on these. So I've sent this document out. I've generated it from EA. It's 100% generated from EA. I send it out into Microsoft Teams or into just regular Word users, and they switch on track changes and send me back a whole load of stuff. So let's see what Revision Manager makes of what I get back from all those people. So I find some documents. So Charlie's done one and Fred and Claire have done a different one. Now, it looks like Fred and Claire probably loaded this into something like Teams, and they did an online review where they both were commenting together. If you can get people to do that, it's a brilliant way to review documents, a bit like you would do with Google Docs, because people can see other people's comments. And if the first person in there spots a typo, the second person just goes, oh, fine, I don't care. Somebody else has spotted that already. So it's you're honoring their time by saying you don't have to spot every typo, and the next person spots the typo, and so does the next person. That's just wasting everybody's time. So if you can get them to do it in Teams, then it's a brilliant way to do it. So I'm going to load up both documents. Both documents, by the way, part of the tagging information I put in there, they've both got a unique identifier that says these came from the my original analysis summary document. So we're not going to load the wrong thing. So what eaDocX is doing at the moment is it's opening those documents. They're all off screen to my left here. And it's figuring out what are the comments and the revisions that are in each of those documents. Now, obviously, these are little tiny documents. Yours are going to be zillions and zillions of them. And the goal here is to get me, the author, through the process as quickly as possible, because lots of these updates are going to be boring. They're going to be typos. They're going to be little changes that I just want to put straight back into EA. Normally what I'd do is I'd take my revision document, here it is one of the revision versions, and I'd go through it bit by bit. Oh, Fred said this, and okay, thank you, Fred, and scroll down. I can use using the review section, I can say, show me the next comment and show me the next insert and stuff. The problem then, of course, comes, I now have to find the TBMLCO actor in EA. Now, in this case, it shouldn't be a problem. I might have to do a search for it. I might know the bit in EA where it is, but I'm going to have to do that every single comment that comes back. And that's just boring. It's not even boring. It's very error prone as well, because I'm going to be copying and pasting and copying and pasting and hoping that I've put it all in the right place. So that's the use case that here we're trying to fix. So here then is what eaDocX has found in those two documents that I loaded. So Fred and Claire have made one comment and 5 revisions. Comments are the stuff that appears on the right-hand side. The revisions is where I've actually gone into the document and changed the text, because suddenly we don't mind people doing that because we can read it all automatically. So the user interface here, this is the kind of alpha version of it, is trying to get me, the author, through this process as quickly as possible. Because what I want you to be able to do as authors is go through the easy stuff quickly, get to the important stuff, and use your brain for the difficult stuff. And let's the philosophy of eaDocX generally. So let's start with Fred. He says, "Oh, nice, people should read these documents. That's nice." If I really want to know what Fred was talking about, it's brought up that exact part of the document here. So if I did have the document open, I can see exactly which bit of the document Fred's referring to. But really, I'm not sure I really care too much anymore. Little tick that says, yeah, thank you, I'm not going to do anything about it. Oh, can we make this a bit simpler? Too much going on. So where's Charlie's version of the document? So it's highlighted that, and it's highlighted this great big beautiful, I have to say, use case diagram, which I think is absolutely beautiful. Where's Charlie's comment? Oh, there it is. There's Charlie. Can we make this a bit simpler? No, we can't. Get lost. It's a fantastic diagram, and I'm not going to do anything about it. So here's another next bit then. So Fred has added something into the description, the notes field of this actor, and he said, TBL is blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, Fred's the expert in this. Yeah, fine, I'm okay. There you go. So it's put Fred in this list of pending changes, and it's moved me on to the next change because I'm going next, 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 next. I want to go through this quickly, and so it's put it in the list of pending changes. What we decided to do, and I'll be interested in your feedback at the end, was save all the changes in a pending form, let you review all of them, and then commit them all together into EA, which I think is more friendly than going commit, commit, commit. The fifth comment just says all the other ones were all wrong. So actually, what we decided to do was store them all. I think this was Jackie's idea. Store them all up in one place, let you review them all together, and then say, now I'm going to save them all. So that's how we decided to do that. So here's some next bit of comments. So in Fred, well, this document, Fred said, Charlie should know this, okay? And Charlie said a manager is a blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, we'll take Charlie's version. So there's Charlie's change in here. Same for Claire says that. Thank you, Claire. That's actually overwritten what was there before. So that's Claire's comment down here, update to the document there. And we can find out where that is. So here's where somebody has written extra stuff into the document. So just prove there's no dark magic going on here. And Fred's done that. Thank you, Fred. And then okay. Now we have a problem because Charlie's written a great big bit of description of what she thinks the register use case is all about. And Fred says, oh, we don't do event it again. Claire's saying, well, something else. This is the bit where I earn my salary. So I need to go into that use case and have a think. So it may be the case that there's an issue here. So maybe I raise an issue inside of EA. Maybe I go back to my project manager and go, do you know what? These three people can't agree at all what this use case is all about. Now we need to go and have a sit down, maybe have a Zoom call, and we'll sort it out. But I haven't wasted my time on the other stuff. This is the bit where I need to read it all and find out what to do next. So I'm not going to accept any of those because I don't know which one is right and what I'm going to do. What I do want to do though is save the boring stuff that I've done already. And we've decided to give you two options here. One is just save it, in which case I'll update EA with all these values. It doesn't have to be, they all happen to be descriptions here. It could be anything. It could be a status. It could be a priority. It could be a tagged value. Pretty much anything in EA that you can think of, you can update with this mechanism. We're putting this save with details option. Now, the idea of that is to say, maybe I want some kind of audit trail here that says who made the change and when. So I don't know if this is going to be well used, but there's the change going in. Close all that and close all the documents. What I've now got here over in my browser is it not only has the update to this, so there you go, TBML, blah, 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 so it's an all the update to it. I've also got this description element that says, so this revision element that says it was Fred that made it, and he made it at this sort of time. That's when the document was issued, and it's the description field, and that's the new value, and it could even be the old value in there as well. I'm not sure how many people are going to use that. Because really, if I wanted to go back and make sure, find out what was the revision comments, I've always got the document. I guess it's possible that we could save each of those feedback documents and save it alongside the original. Maybe we haven't done that yet, but I think we've probably taken this as far as we can, because I've got my way that I think I review documents. Your way of doing it may be quite different. So that's why at this stage of the development of Revision Manager, we're kind of saying, well, okay, we're going to release this as part of a beta, and then we're going to get feedback from people, because I've got to say, all of the best ideas in the eaDocX have come from you. Pretty much all of them. Jackie's had a few. I had a couple. Mostly they've come from you. So I'm interested to see what your company culture is for reviewing document. Is this good enough? Will this solve 90%? In which case I'm fine. Do you need extra clever stuff, more audit trail and that sort of thing? So it would be interesting to see what your collective thoughts are as a community. And why is this important? Well, it's not the biggest piece of function we've ever written for eaDocX, but I think it's really important because it provides an alternative now where we can reach out to people and interact with them. Collaborate, brilliant way of doing it. Interestingly though, both with Collaborate and with a document, in each case you've got to curate the view that person sees. You can't say, here's the entire model. You've got to say, well, here's what's relevant to you. Obviously with a document, that's what designing a document's all about. Collaborate, you're going to have to do the same thing. It's more immediate. If you give them right access into the model, which Collaborate will let you do, the update's done to the model straight away. But this now gives us an alternative, and we can meet people where they are. If they know Word, which everybody does, including my mum, and if they use Teams, my mum doesn't use Teams, then here's a Word document, review it in Teams. You don't have to learn anything. You don't have to learn a new user interface. You just put on track changes and send it back. And there's no infrastructure, there's no anything to do. So it's a very low impact kind of way of reaching people through a document. And it may be your culture to use documents. So that's what we just saw. So I create the document with eaDocX, I send it out into the world. People put their revisions and their comments on it. They all come back into Revision Manager. Revision Manager shows me all the changes from all the different people in all the different versions, and there's no upper limit to that. And I can push the data quickly into EA and with an audit trail if I want, and then concentrate on the harder parts. And that's what we're calling smart documents, which is why our new logo says smart documents on it, because I think now documents don't need to be a big dumb set of text. That document knows that it came from Enterprise Architect. So the people reviewing it don't know that. As you saw, the document looks like a document. So it's the miracle, by the way, is hidden text all over the place with GUIDs and magic behind the scenes. So that's why we're actually quite excited about this as an addition to the eaDocX sort of set of functions. It's going to be released in version 5. It's going to be in the collaboration edition. We've decided, because of the kind of lockdown and the fact that everybody has to do things in a different way, we're not going to charge any more money for collaboration edition, certainly for the rest of this year. So it'll be the same as the corporate edition. And we'd really like your help to make it better. So you can go buy eaDocX version 4 now, and it's got professional and corporate editions, and there's all kinds of fantastic stuff. Version 5 there will be the collaboration edition, and I need your feedback now. So tell me how you'd like it to change. I'm going to be working pretty hard for the next month or so, looking at Jackie, and she's sort of shrugging, like whenever I say a month, it's always 6 weeks, to get a beta version of version 5. But if you're new to eaDocX, then please get the version 4 as a 30-day trial. Go and get the hang of producing fantastic documents. And by the time you finish learning all that, then we'll be available. You'll get a version 5 beta, which you'll get another 30-day trial on it. So really, it's down to you to tell me what we've missed, because I think document reviewing is quite culture specific, quite organization specific. So tell me what else you need. So I think I finished with a few minutes to spare. If there are any questions that have been picked up so far, then Nizam, can you feed them back to me, and I'll handle the questions now. Are you still awake, Nizam? He's gone.
Sorry.
Sorry, Nizam's still asleep. So, Jackie,
No,
do you have any
no,
questions?
sorry, I was on mute. Sorry, I'm back.
On mute. Okay. Do you have any questions that you've picked up from the forum, Nizam? Or Jackie's got some by the side of me here.
Yeah, so there are a few comments that has come in the Teams channel.
Okay.
Firstly, there's does it handle all EA diagram types, or it's mainly aimed at requirements? It's a question from Jerry.
Yeah, every diagram type.
Okay, that's great. And there's another question which says, I'm not a eaDocX user, but I like the idea of saving the revision details. If I want more info or someone else later disagrees, then in the model
on the forum, and we'll on the Teams thing, and we'll get back to you.
Sure, I think that'll be good. I guess other than that, it's saying like it's really good presentations, and there are a few more questions that has come up, and we have asked them to be available in the team so that you can have a discussion with them later on.
I'm just going to ask Jackie if she got any comments came from you. Oh, okay. So we want to see the generation of the document. Yeah. Well, we can do that. Speedy quick. Go back into EA to see that. Let's pick the other document. I was on a break. Mine lovely. So the generation bit is it's quite dull really, because you get a document and you say generate document. We'll do a tagged untagged version of it. The eaDocX lets you do versioning, so we'll put a version 1.2 in that and say for the summit demo, and off it goes. And it's interesting, we put well, there's a sort of a progress indicator on here, which we, it's not very accurate because the document generator doesn't know what it's gonna find in EA. And for a while, you can actually switch off in Word showing all these updates. And we did for one release a long time ago, we switched off showing the updates. And various people came back and said, oh, we actually quite like that because it's much better than a progress indicator because you can see it actually working. You can see here, by the way, it's resolving all those hyperlinks. So the more hyperlinks you have, the slower it'll go, but they're so useful. You know, you'd be mad not to use it. And now it's saving the new version of the document, and there you go. So my version 120, and I didn't bother printing the review. Oh, is there review comments somewhere in my list of versions? There you go, for the Summit demo and time and date and all that sort of stuff. That's it. You know, that's as exciting as generating a document should be. And once I've generated it, that's it. Save it it is a Word document. You don't just save it as a Word document. You can see what it is up here. Save it, send it, go and have a cup of coffee.
Thanks, Ian. That's great. We have a few more questions. I think we have a few minutes left as well.
Okay.
Maybe I can just ask them. So is eaDocX able to print diagrams without all the additional blank space? That's in comparison with the...
I don't know. I mean, that's the diagram. It's not got empty. I don't know where it started what it looked like in EA. I think it probably had a big there's no empty space in there, I guess. But that's just how EA delivers the bitmap to the API. So it's whatever. If you say to EA, please give me this document. Sorry, please give me this diagram as a bitmap. That's what you get back. So that's what we put in the document, which is why you can print any kind of document. So I wasn't aware that was a problem. Is it a problem in other kinds of generator, Nizam?
It looks like it is, but I think that,
okay.
I mean, but just to clarify, you're using the image from EA, so I think it should be.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's another question from Heather. Is different versions of the documents, if different versions of the documents are produced for different stakeholders, can the revision manager cope up with the comments for the same artifacts presented in those documents?
At the moment, I've actually added function that says I will only let you pull in where the comments are on the same version of the same document, but that's a restriction that I've added. But Jack and I were talking about that the other day, and actually that you could, I might put in an option that says actually don't check that, because the comments and the revisions and things are now attached to EA elements. So if the versions are slightly different and you've both commented on the same requirement, then actually that's valid. We should show that in the revision manager. So I think I might give people an option to switch off that restriction and say, you know, if it comes back and they're two totally different documents, then there'll be two completely disjoint sets of comments. But if they have a big overlap, then Revision Manager will resolve that and go, oh yeah, look, they're all the same, all same requirements, same use case, same activity. So I think I'll make it an option to not do that. But it seemed a bit dangerous that I'm comparing different people's feedback on actually different versions of the same document. I don't know, makes me feel slightly uneasy. So I think I'll leave it as a choice for the user to switch off that check. So good plan.
Sure. Yeah, great. So it's a simple question. Does it work as a plugin to EA Sparx
Yes.
or out of the box?
It's a
So,
or out of the box. I don't know what out of the box means. It's an add-in.
That's
so
a standalone application. So it's an add-in.
Specialize eaDocX. That's all the eaDocX stuff. So we're just like all the other add-ins that you can get.
It's a question from Taras. Interesting. How Collate and eaDocX work together in terms of overlapping functionalities?
Or better be careful what I say about Collate here, Nizam, haven't I? Well, Nizam and I have talked about this many, many times. I think they're solving the same problem. Both Collate and documents in general are solving the same problem. And we've both tried to solve the problem of interaction and feedback. Nizam's taken, I think, the fine-grained, really lovely user interface kind of approach, where you add the Collaborate interface into EA, and it's just fabulous to look at. I've taken a different route, because we're from a document kind of background, and said, if for any reason you can't, won't, don't want to use Collaborate, then there is the document option. And I don't know, maybe I'll bring you in here, Nizam. Do you agree that they're just two different ways of solving the same problem?
No, I think there are both use cases, like, the live collaboration platform and the documents. So documents are inevitable, and, people use it as, until they use it as an artifact that needs to be submitted along with the project or a requirements workshop. So, though curation is the objective for both, there's different stakeholders that will be involved, and different stages of the projects that this will be involved in.
I agree, yes. I think Nizam and I agreed a while ago that the ideal situation for us would probably be for the day-to-day interaction as you're going backwards and forwards with your stakeholders developing stuff. Collaborate is brilliant. Oh, can you just write me this little requirement, review this little bit for me over here? And then maybe at the end of your project, the end of a phase of your project, you produce the document. And you do a few little changes on that, and then move on back into Collaborate. So you might flip and flop between Collaborate for the fine-grained detail, and then maybe you might have to use a document at the end. But that's just Nizam and I chatting over a cup of coffee.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess there'll be more questions coming up. Would you like to? I will again request everyone to please join the team's channel to have a more elaborate discussion and get multiple perspectives. There'll be Ian, there'll be Jackie, and there'll be multiple EA practitioners who could share their viewpoints as well.
Absolutely.
So please do join. I guess it was a great session. There's a lot of interest already. So thanks once again, Ian.
Thank you, Nizam.
This is yet another great session from you, and thanks everyone for joining this session. Look forward to see you in the next session and in the team's channel as well.
Thank you, Nizam.